The following is brought to you by PaulAkers.net.
Monday, day one, 2-second lean Japan experience. Hickenbotham, Team Australia. You land in Tokyo and we're off to a running start. We get together down in the conference room after we see all the sights and sounds and you walking around and seeing Japan in full glory. And before long, we're starting off on this amazing journey. We get our thermoses. We're walking through the Senso Temple area and we're seeing all the amazing sights from craft production to mass production, and we're getting the smoke to heal all of our ailments. And then from the temple area, we walked over to our restaurant where we have our first conference, our first speaker, Professor Izawa-san, and we had a great talk. And from there, we had dinner. And after dinner, we watched the movie, The Emperor, and then we walked back over to the old subway. And that was really interesting, seeing what Japan used to be like about 40 or 50 years ago. And then we came up to the top. After we entered down there, we went to the Inu Cafe where they pet dogs, the Japanese style, and a beautiful walk to the temple area again. And that was our first day in Japan, Team Australia, the 2-second lean Japan experience. Tuesday, day 2, Tokyo, Team Australia, Hickenbotham Group. We start our second day in beautiful Tokyo with absolutely gorgeous weather. We walked through the Senso Temple on our way to Tokyo Station. As we walk through, we observe all the workers doing great quality work, keeping this temple area absolutely sparkling clean. After hundreds of thousands of people visited the day before, it seems like nobody was ever there. It was so perfectly clean. Then into the subway system during rush hour traffic, we saw some of the beautiful shrines and displays. We navigated the subway system, and then we came out at Tokyo Station. We got up to our conference room and we overlooked this magnificent job site, the highest building being built in Tokyo, just a mega project, and we got to see the quality of this construction project, every detail being attended to. And then before long, Mr. Yabe gave a great talk on the 7-minute miracle. We went across the street to actually witness the 7-minute miracle. In person, we saw the great visual controls, creating a visual workplace. This is so important. We saw all the great baby changing stations and family stations that Mr. Yabe and his team set up and established. We took some great pictures in front of the Shinkansen, and then before long, it was time for the 7-minute miracle. And the train came in just like clockwork every time. JR East, this is the largest railroad company in the world, the most profitable, and obviously one of the best as well. And the Tessay team got there and they began the 7-minute miracle. We got to watch through the windows as the seats all turned around perfectly, automatically, and then each member went through a 100-car train and cleaned every tray and every armrest. And this guy even saw one little speck and he stopped to say, no, that wasn't quite good enough, and then on his way. We looked on, we got a beautiful view of everybody taking care of all the details, meticulously taking care of everything, working conscientiously. Leveling up is the theme for this trip, and clearly we saw everybody leveling up and working to a consistent standard and improving Kaizen all the time, the pointing and calling, acting with great gratitude and omotenashi towards the customers. We celebrated as the Shinkansen went on its way, and wow, what a magnificent treasure this is for the Japanese people. We went outside, we took pictures in front of the beautiful Tokyo Station, and then over to lunch. We had a spectacular lunch of fresh sashimi and lamb overlooking a beautiful area as Mr. Yabe showed us how to make a crane. And it didn't come out perfect, but we had a lot of fun watching him. This is something all Japanese children know how to do. And then we raced over to the Imperial Palace, and Mommy's team won. They beat Paul's team decisively, I have to admit. And we saw the Imperial Gardens, and boy, were they absolutely beautiful. We walked through here on a gorgeous day. Wow, the sun was shining on our face. We were so blessed to have this spectacular weather. And then even some of the plum trees and maybe a few of the cherry trees started to bloom a little bit, and we got to see that. We got a couple great photo shots. And then deep into the interior of the beautiful imperial grounds. This is where the Shogun's castle originally stood, on this beautiful foundation. built all the way out to the edge, and then it burned down. They actually never rebuilt it, but there's talk that maybe they might rebuild it in all its splendor and glory. They have a beautiful model of what it looked like. And we loaded on the bus and then down to the headquarters where MacArthur led the reconstruction of Japan in 1945. MacArthur and his team, we saw the movie The Emperor. This is where it all happened. The team led the reconstruction of Japan, which came out to be one of the most magnificent things ever. Japan came back to all its glory. And then over to a small construction site, a single-family home built in the outskirts of Tokyo, and we saw the amazing joinery and craftsmanship and attention to detail that these two skilled craftsmen take in building this beautiful home that is built to incredible standards and perfections. They showed us and demonstrated the hand planes they used to plane all the wood, which means even the wood they frame with. And then each one of our team members got in there and got to try it. Sue led off the team, and she did a great job. And then before long, David was in there, and then Vanita was in there. Everybody did a great job of showing us they have what it takes to be a journeyman carpenter. And even Henry got in there, and he did his stuff. And look at these tools, these beautiful chisels, everything kept in just such perfect order, including the Japanese back saws normally used for furniture. We got a team picture with everybody, including the two journeyman carpenters. We said goodbye. We did our first wave goodbye. And then our last stop was over to the dollar store, the Daisen Dollar Store. This place was amazing. And that ended day 2 of the 2 Second Lean Japan experience. Day 3, Team Hickenbotham. We're going from Tokyo to Nagoya today on the high-speed Shinkansen. We get up super early in the morning and we catch the train, and we barely make it in time because this thing's running down the tracks at almost 200 miles an hour, and Fujisan is out for us in all its glory. And before long we get there, just a 100-minute trip, and the train is off. Everything happens in SMED time, single-minute exchange of die, and then we're off to the Toyota Techno Museum where we meet Mr. Amazawa, former vice president of Lexus, and we go through this amazing plant that allows us to see the entire history of Toyota from the loom factory all the way through the automotive factory, and how Japan became dominant, world dominant in the textile industry with their continuous Kaizen and innovation. And then the Model G loom assembly line by Sakichi Toyota. They said it was so good they couldn't make any more improvements. Over 50 patents on it. Sakichi Toyota went on to be one of the greatest inventors in the world, and definitely the greatest in Japan. Sakichi's understanding went far beyond woodworking, now into metal forging and steel. And Mr. Amazawa told us about the history of Toyota and the relationship with their vendors and how they worked. And then we went through the original workshop. We went into a museum area that showed all the people that work with Kiichiro and what it was like working with him and the things they learned from him. And of course, Toyota's got a robot that plays a violin. And then the entire history of Toyota Motor Company laid out, including the Model AA assembly line. It was just a fascinating place to see. And then of course, all the machinery and everything works, including the robots, so you could see how real time they build cars today. It was just an awesome experience to be able to see this, everything from spray painting to the dojo where they train people to work and do work at a high level. Monozukuri and the LFA Lexus, one of the greatest sports cars ever created. And from there, we went on to one of the elementary schools. And man, was this a crazy experience. These kids were lit on fire. We walked into the classroom. They were a little quiet in the very beginning, but before long, they were high-fiving us and going absolutely crazy. These kids loved it. And believe it or not, the press even came out. They had a camera crew out there filming our trip there. They thought this was a little unusual. A lot of Australians coming to a Japanese school to see Japanese excellence. Ganbarimasu, I will do my best. And yakusoku mamoru, I will keep my promise. This is what is taught to these kids. And do they perform at a high level, and are they engaging? No robots here, just kids really engaged and really happy. We sat down and had lunch with them, which was a fascinating thing. And the kids went absolutely crazy. The principal was probably beside herself. She couldn't believe how crazy the kids were, but they were excited that we were there. We had to clean up after ourselves. We had to actually learn how to rinse out the cartons and fold the cartons and get everything ready for recycling. And then the kids started cleaning the entire school. The song Edelweiss plays over the loudspeaker, and all the kids just start cleaning, sweeping, scrubbing, cleaning the bathrooms, cleaning the floors, everything. They just totally get into it, including the chalkboards, making sure the erasers are completely cleaned off. And then we got a group picture, and man, did they go crazy. We had such a great time with these kids. They were as animated as any group of kids that I've ever worked with in Japan. It's always a great thing. And then at the very end, the press interviewed Michael and asked some questions. We presented some gifts to the principal and vice principal, and we just had a fabulous time. We did our famous wave goodbye, Japanese style. You never stop waving, because these people are omotenashi. They're real sense of the customer. We stopped by a convenience store because everyone's getting used to the Family Mart and 7-Eleven, and then over to Usui Loom. Oh my gosh, this was crazy. This was a factory that was set up over 100 years ago by Sakichi Toyota. Personally, he spent 3 months here working with his family. It's the 5th generation, and the only loom factory left in the world with Sakichi's machines. Isn't this just something? And it's cranking out cloth for kimonos, high-end kimonos. The Japanese people are very sensitive in these machines. They weave the fabric and it's softer to your skin, and the Japanese people can discern the difference, and they only want kimonos made out of the cloth that is woven on Sakichi's machines. How amazing is this? And they're still running after 100 years, the same machines. Day in and day out. Just a few people manage all these machines. We got a great group picture, and man, is this place over the top cool. We saw so many different elements of this process, because they also have to fold the material after they've woven it. And this is a folder that Sakichi designed as well, which is just very, very cool. And then we went into some of the other rooms where they wind up the material and get it ready to make into the giant spools that then will go on Sakichi's machines and the looms. And then everyone stopped in the little gift store, and we bought all kinds of beautiful little gifts woven on Sakichi's machines. And then over to the temple area, and we saw some of the most beautiful trees and gardens you could ever imagine. And what a day. Day 4, 2-second lean Japan experience, Nagoya. We woke up early in the morning and we went to the fish market, and it was always so awesome going there. And we almost looked like the Beatles walking across the street here. And we got to the fish market, and it was lit up like crazy, and all the fish were out in every different variety you could possibly imagine. But the main reason we went there was to see the big tunas. And he was filleting up a big one right there when we were there, and it was just amazing watching those sharp knives cut through everything. And we caught all kinds of interesting sights and sounds, from them making the egg rolls to people eating at the little stand-up bars. And then we made it to Mifune, the first and most important stop of the entire trip. Mr. Mamura came on board, and we went on up into the main office, the Obeya room, and we saw how the whole office was laid out in an open format. And then we took a look at the new products that Mifune was developing, over 200 new products. Mifune has been working on these for almost 2 years now, and they're just about ready to launch. So it's going to be an amazing effort. Then we went down to the Kanban room, and we saw the Kanbans were printed out from the Tier 1 suppliers. And then we went out and saw the amazing die change. 5 dies changed in about 5 minutes from start to finish. It was just unbelievable watching these guys work with such fluidity without even talking or even speaking a single word to one another. They almost acted as if we weren't even there, and we were standing right in their way half the time. It was just amazing. And they changed all the automation out as well. It wasn't just the molds, as well as the material handling stations down at the far end. It was quite remarkable to see these guys work this way. And they do it over and over again, sometimes as many as 10 times a day, changing these mold change out. First part, perfect, and then it goes to inspection, automation, all completely dialed in and working perfectly, passing the parts from one progressive die to the next one, to the point where we get the finished parts off the conveyor at the end. From there, first and last part inspection, but it's really confirmation that the product has been produced and quality has been built into the process. They inspect every tolerance over and over again to make sure everything is perfect. and rarely ever find any deviation because quality has been built into the process. Next, single mold die stamping and Jidoka, automation with the human touch, making sure the machine will stop when it detects any part deviation whatsoever. Mr. Umemura demonstrated the Ondon, which signaled the water spider that material was needed, parts needed to be picked up, or whatever was happening, whether there was a die change. We also saw the Mier Luca boards, which means visualization boards, where they show parts that are acceptable, parts that are not acceptable. They make everything visual from how every employee or team member is working, as well as the defect board, how long they've gone without making a single defect, sometimes as long as 400 days. Then we went into each of the welding cells and we saw them perform amazing processes in very tight quarters with very little movement. We saw the inspection process where every hole, every detail, every weld, every part was marked and verified that the process was producing perfect parts. The tiniest burr was inspected and filed off. The part was then put on a fixture which allowed her to spin it around and make perfect inspection in a comfortable work cell. It's amazing how much time has went into developing these cells and making these things all work the way they did. She worked seamlessly from one part to another. Then we went out to the grocery store and we saw them picking parts with standard work. Everybody doing it exactly the same. Important part here is that everybody makes a declaration every morning to pick perfect parts and to make no mistakes and assume nothing. We actually did the call. We gathered around in a circle. We put the poster down on the floor and the Acho called out, "I will not make any defective parts. I will be conscientious. I will do my work at the highest level." All I can say is what a learning experience at Mifune. And then the Lean Grocery Store for lunch. We picked up our lunch real quick, and after the grocery store and we saw how that all functioned, we went over to the strawberry fields, and these were the high-tech strawberry farms where you could pick all the strawberries you wanted for 15 minutes, and we got to eat till our heart's content. And they're absolutely beautifully maintained and managed, all computer controlled for heat, moisture, and fertilization. And we got to eat them all and enjoy them on a beautiful day. It was a little windy outside, but inside it was perfect temperature. We said goodbye to everybody after we had a great visit and lunch. And then from there, we went to the dojo over at Plant One from Mifune. Now, this is a dojo that allows us to practice work, to practice standard work specifically. And everybody took a different cell and began the process of working together as a team. One person timing, one person performing the task within a certain criteria of time, doing the work as the work was laid out in the standard work process. It was really, really interesting. And then from there, we actually got to make a part for a Toyota van. Unbelievable that we would ever get this opportunity. But Ben-san explained to us and showed us how it was done. And then we brought 3 people into the cells, and they actually got to make a very complex part for the seat lever release on a Toyota van. Absolutely incredible. Kaylee got in there, Benita got in there, and also Henry got in there, and all of them did it. And even Michael got in there at the very end, and he got a chance to do it. Then after all that was done, Ben-san showed us the automation, which put the rivet on, and then the part was finally inspected, put into a jig, and actually put into a drawer glide to make sure that everything functioned 100% perfect, because quality is built into the process. We said our goodbyes to Mr. Umemura on a beautiful day in Nagoya and Toyota City. Wow, what a trip. Michael and Henry gave a cool little gift to Mr. Umemura, and we got our final words in, and before long we were waving goodbye, and the day you would think would finally be over with after all that, but it was still not over with. We still had one more stop, and that was to the incineration plant in Toyota City. Not to waste a single second, Mr. Amazawa gave us an amazing talk at all of his work at Toyota and Lexus over the last 40 years. And then we got to the incineration plant. We took an opening picture, and then we went up and we saw how this amazing plant manages the garbage for over 400,000 people in Toyota City. Now, there are over 1,000 plants in all of Japan. They incinerate all their garbage, and everything is done at the highest level, Japanese excellence in both cleanliness, operation, speed, and efficiency. The trucks come in, they're unloaded, they go into a giant gomi pit. This big, huge crane picks everything up, mixes the garbage, and then puts it in the incineration plant after it's ground up a little bit. and it goes to a two-stage system. It's burned at 600 degrees, and then later at 1300 degrees. It generates about $3 million worth of power a year for the city. And then we said our goodbyes, and man, what a place this was. It really changes your perspective on what people can do with garbage when it's done well. Day 4, another amazing day in Japan. Day 5, Nagoya, Team Hickenbotham. We started off our day by Mr. Amazawa finishing up his talk on his life at Lexus and Toyota, and we learned a lot of very important things like whatever you do not chase the dog's ass. Set the standard. Be the one who differentiates and sets the standard that everybody else climbs to. Don't follow anyone else. Be that definitive of a leader. Then we went to the post office and we saw amazing standard work in the way they prepared every one of their cars and motorcycles every day. We watched her inspect over 50 different points. Every car is inspected at this level every day. This is how they guarantee quality into the process. There's not going to be a breakdown. There's not going to be a problem anywhere because their job is to deliver mail to their customers. It's not to sit on the side of the road and hope that a mechanic can come in time so they can get their job done correctly. That's not the way the Japanese think. You make sure that everyone can do their job by building quality into the process. And one of those quality factors is standard work. Standard work is performed every day in Japan on countless things so the Shinkansen runs on time, the mail is delivered on time, the Toyota parts are delivered on time. Everything is done by the foundation of standard work, and we saw this so clearly there. And then inside where they hang the clothes for the rain clothes, they have the pockets turned inside and out so nobody can ever forget a piece of mail potentially in the pocket. That would be a poke-yoke. And then they have the new EV motorcycles coming on board, and they also turn the boots laying down so there's no way any mail can be left anywhere. This is a visual workplace, and you see it over and over again. All the motorcycles are parked exactly the same and maintained at the same level, again, so they have standard work and they can do their work at a high level every day for their customers. And it's privatized too on top of all that. And then from there, we went over to AVEX. Now, AVEX is a world-class Tier 1, Tier 2 supplier to Daihatsu and Toyota. And we went through this amazing plant and we saw the robotics and we saw the automation that they're working with at the end to handle over 140 million parts with almost no defects every year to their people. We had the chairman of the board speak to us and we gave them a gift, and Kata-san, she's been amazing helping us set up a lot of the different tour locations. We got our pictures and then we're on to our next stop. Of course, no departure from any Japanese company would be without a great waving ceremony, and both they waved at us and we waved at them, and it was just awesome. The girl was actually a cheerleader too. She did a little cheer and a little spin for us as we left the parking lot. But we had a great time at AVEX, and then we were on to our next stop. So it's always a contest to see who stops first. And this time we won. They finally stopped as we turned the corner onto the main road. We were still waving, and I think at that point they had given up, and we finally won this little contest. And our next stop was unbelievable. We went to Daiwa House. Now they are one of the largest home builders of pre-manufactured homes in all of Japan. They build about 25,000 homes a year, and their price is about $500,000 a piece. It takes 3 to 6 months to construct them, and we got a little simulation of how they do it. They bring all the panels out, and then they build the outside structure after they build the steel structure. And these interior panels can be built within 1 day. So a house, they're building about 10 houses a day, and they can pull this all off in just about a day. It's pretty amazing what they do, and the fit and finish on the inside of the homes is really remarkably good. I would not say it's as good as Hickenbotham, but it's very, very good. The quality is great, but I think the design of Hickenbotham homes is really exceptional. But the inside of the Daiwa House homes are beautiful. The porches are beautiful. The interior fit and finish is amazing. And then from there, we went into their shake test. Now, the earthquakes in Japan are quite severe, the most severe anywhere in the world, and they have to withstand a huge seismic rating. And nobody does it like the Japanese. The engineering is just absolutely remarkable. We got to talk to their leaders, ask them a lot of questions about how they run the company, how they finance the homes, what the payment schedules were. We got to ask them a lot of really good questions. We got to present a few gifts to the top leaders, and before long we were saying our goodbyes. And as always at every Japanese company, It is a ceremony, including the Australian and the Japanese flag, and the girls who were so incredible in the welcome center. We got to say goodbye to them as well, and everybody was waving. Now, Team Hickenbotham, you pull out the stops. You even open the windows for the wave goodbye. Way to go. Day 6, Kyoto. Team Hickenbotham, you did it. You made it through the 2-second lean Japan experience. And in the morning, it was perfect. We went to Ro-Anji, the most amazing sand temple and rock garden. And we sat there and we meditated and we thought about all that we learned over the past 6 days in the beautiful country of Japan. So much to learn. What a place. So much to think about how life will be different in the future as we apply these time-tested principles of historical greatness, standard work, visual controls, respect for people, teaching and training our people, developing leaders. So many things we saw, so many things that we can change and improve, so many kaizens. They're all right in front of us. We have the opportunity to change Australia with the knowledge that we've learned. So many wonderful people that have shared their experience of being Japanese and living in this amazing country and enduring many hardships and so many pivots, so many generations that have made a difference. A 2,000-year-old culture, and it's teaching us all so much. What a journey. And maybe it's just beginning. We look back on the history of Japan and the leaders of Japan and the magnificent things they created. And you can't help but be in awe. It's everywhere. Japanese excellence is everywhere. And hopefully it will inspire you for the rest of your life as it's inspired me in my life. Everywhere I look, I see the artistry, the beauty, the thoughtfulness, the discipline, the follow-through, the ganbarimasu. It is everywhere in Japan. What a perfect way to end a trip in Kyoto, the capital of Japan for over 1,000 years. So much to be thankful for, so much time we have to change things for the better. What a gift. What a gift we've been given to have this knowledge. A lot will be different in the future, and it will be determined largely by your courage. Your courage to think outside the box. No different than this red pine grew a totally different direction than you would ever expect. Japan is full of surprises. It's full of magic. It's full of deep thinking. It's full of rich experiences. It's full of life. beauty, mystery. It's full. Do something great. Don't do something average. Kodawali. For the rest of your life. My expectations are high, and I will challenge you. Do something great. Change the world.
Brought to you by PaulAkers.net, where you'll find all Paul's books and Lean resources for free, including the new 2-second Lean Play app, like Audible, but free. To listen to Lean is Lean on the 2-second Lean Play app at PaulAkers.net.